Welcome to Action Island presented by FanDuel. I'm Maria Marino here with Matt Moore, as well as his Action Flamingo, Sean Little and Gilles Gallant. We are building a same game parlay for Mavericks Timberwolves Game 5. Now, if you're new to the island, the way this works is each of the guys are going to share two best bets, and the Island Council will vote for their favorite pick, and we'll have a three-leg same-game parlay by the end of the show. But let's do a little warm-up here. It's been a series that I think is closer than the series score suggests. So, Sean, let me start with you. Are you surprised at how this series has shaken out so far?
Yeah, I am. If you're asking the simple question of am I surprised, I am surprised. I picked the Timberwolves to win the series, so I thought it would be a lot tighter, at least on the record standpoint, than it has been so far. For them to be up 3-0, I was shocked, but they have been close games. It could have gone either way in game 1 through 3. I like the adjustments that we're going to talk about quite a bit here coming up, done by Minnesota. So let's see if they could push it back to Dallas.
Matt, I know liked Dallas coming in. So let me ask you, Gilles, who did you like coming into the series?
Yeah, I think like a lot of people, I like the Timberwolves coming in, especially if you take down the defending champions. And really, I mean, I think the series probably should be 2-2. Just the fact that 3 of the games are decided by less than a total of 10 points. I think there's a lot, these teams are a lot closer than a 3-1 deficit, but this is where we are.
Yes. Meanwhile, like I said, Matt liked Dallas. Am I right on that, Matt? You like Dallas coming in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had Dallas plus 140 and minus 1.5 at a really big number. So excited for tonight. Would really like that to not have to be a sweat for game 6. Matchups have played out largely like I think that they, like I thought they would. Not to take a too big of a victory lap here, but it has kind of played out the way that I thought it would. I said, hey, Jaden McDaniels is going to have a hard time with Luka Doncic. What's been interesting though is, and we'll talk more about this, the Wolves have shifted. This longer the series goes, Minnesota's starting to be like, all right, let's get away from our comfort zone and let's try and play a little bit more to our opponent. I'm going to be very curious to see what happens tonight. The Mavericks need to wrap this up because I do think the Wolves are headed in the right direction as far as managing the matchups that are against them in this series.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't go celebrating on the island quite yet because this series is far from over. And we're going to start building our same game parlay. But before we do, I want to remind everybody that Action Island is presented by FanDuel. Sign up at FanDuel Sportsbook today and get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you bet $5. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. New users in North Carolina will receive $200 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, so let's get into our best bets for Mavs T-Wolves Game 5. And Matt Moore, you're going to tip us off. What are your favorite bets for the game?
All right, let's start with Kyrie Irving under 22.5 points. So I mentioned kind of the adjustments that have been made in this series. And a big one is that in game 4, the Wolves switched up their primary assignments. Throughout the course of the series, Jaden McDaniels has taken the vast majority of the possessions against Luka Doncic. But in game 4, they moved Anthony Edwards full-time onto Doncic and put Jaden McDaniels, JMD rather, onto Kyrie Irving. That's a much better matchup. Now, Kyrie's going to get his to a certain degree. But it is notable that in game 4, he only took 2 shots with Jaden McDaniels defending him. That, I think, is a really significant kind of impact in terms of Kyrie was disincentivized to try and challenge McDaniels. So I like going back to that. They should play that more at home. Kyrie's been largely steady road versus home in these playoffs. He's one of the few Mavericks that hasn't had wild splits, but it is also notable that the Wolves blitzed him late. They put 2 on ball to get the ball out of his hands rapidly. And if they're going to do that, Kyrie's going to make the right reads. It's one of the reasons why I don't want points and assists. I don't want his PRA. We need to focus in on points here. They're going to try and take away Kyrie's scoring. So I'll take the under 22.5 points here for Kyrie. My second bet's going to be PJ Washington over 16.5 rebounds minus 198. We're laying a little bit more juice here for the parlay, but I do think it's a good play. He was 3 of 14 on uncontested looks in game 4. The Wolves, if you're going to start changing up some of the things that they did, like I mentioned, blitzing Kyrie, guess what you're going to give up? open 3-pointers on the weak side. This is what the Thunder did, and they got absolutely cooked by PJ Washington. But if PJ continues to get those looks, he can definitely get to the over here. Additionally, he had 5 rebounds in that game. Either this is a high-scoring game, and if it's a high-scoring game, that probably means PJ Washington is finding his 3-pointer and filling it up with points, and then we don't need as many rebounds. If it's a low-scoring game, that means probably more misses for him to go after the offensive and defensive rebounds for, and that boosts him here. So taking a little bit of an adjusted under here on PJ Washington over 16.5 points and rebounds is going to be my second best bet for our potential parlay.
I like it. And how big has PJ Washington been throughout this postseason? Not sure I necessarily saw that coming, but he has been consistent and important for what Dallas is trying to do. But that being said, we have 2 options from that. So the rest of us need to take a vote. Let's do it. All right, guys, show them. Wait, on Sean. Oh, there we go. There we go. We got the sweep. It's all Kyrie unders. And I think Kyrie just looked totally different in the last game of this series than he did at the beginning of the series. But Gilles, I feel like the under here on points is more like what we've seen from Kyrie throughout most of this postseason.
Yeah, I think that's the trouble with Kyrie is that one game he might explode for 30 to 40 points, and then another game he's looking a little more passive and a little more selective. And it's part of the reason why, like, I don't really like to play his 3-point props, and you just it's a mixed bag with him a lot of the time. And I think that's the reason why I ended up voting for it a little bit more than the PJ one, because even though the PJ one is geared for us to be able to win, I think there's just a lot more potential for Kyrie just to have a no-show in this game. So I think I'd like to take the under at 22.5.
Right. Plus, there was a key defensive adjustment made by Minnesota that Matt went into, moving Ant Edwards off of Kyrie Irving. Okay, so we have our first leg of our parlay. Sean Little, it's your turn. What are your best bets for this game?
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go with the side. I'm going to lay the 5 with the Timberwolves here. Big part of this is what happens with Derek Lively. If he goes, I may have a different opinion on it depending on how much the number moves. But Derek Lively has been massively important for the Dallas Mavericks success. We've talked about it a bunch on buckets. We talked about that Kyrie prop a bunch on buckets as well. That's out there today. Go check it out if you want some more info on that. But if you just look at the raw plus minus that Matt Moore actually tweeted out a couple days ago, it's at 22. That's the best in the series. If we talk about how much he impacts Luka Doncic, it is massive. The net rating falls off a cliff when he's on and off the floor for Luka Doncic. It's 10 plus when he's on, and it's a -6 when he's off. If he's not going to be playing, I like the Timberwolves a lot here. Also, another portion of the cap here is about energy and I guess gas tank of Ant-Man and Luka Doncic. Now, with the defensive switch, I think Ant-Man showed a lot more energy in that first quarter. He got to the line almost 6 times. He was very active and then pretty much disappeared in the second and third quarter and was active in the fourth. I think with the home crowd, he'll take a little lift on that and have a little more energy. I think the Timberwolves win this game, and then he goes back to Dallas and then gets closed out by the Mavericks. The rim protection of Lively being on the floor, so I can't talk about it enough. Michael Conley was going to the basket. Cat was going to the basket. Cat didn't shoot a 3 till the third quarter. So they were attacking the rim throughout. If Derek Lively's on the floor, I have to lay the number here with the Timberwolves going back home. I think the Mavs need one more game to kind of figure out exactly how they're going to trump the now defensive switch up with McDaniels on Kyrie and Luka on Ant-Man.
You know, I'd certainly love to see this series extended. And I know Ant was already telling folks in Dallas he would be back for game 6. What else do you like, Sean?
Oh, yes. I'm also going to take Cat over 2.5 threes at plus 144. Now, I mentioned that he took his first 3 in the middle of the third quarter, but then he closed with 5 throughout the game and he hit 4 of 5. The biggest shot of the game and the series was Cat knocking down his first look in the third quarter. It gave him the confidence to continue to open up and shoot it the rest of the way, and he knocked it down. There was in game 1, he had 9 3 attempts. In game 3, he had 8 3 attempts. I think at home, with the confidence that he had coming off of that game 4 and the big shots he hit, I think the volume continues to go up, and he makes an impact and knocks down 3. It's at plus 144. It's a little juiced up. If we can get Cat to stay out of foul trouble, stay on the floor, and play that 38-ish, 39-ish minutes he should in this game, hits an early 3, I like him to go over 2.5.
A sigh of relief for Minnesota fans seeing Cat make a couple threes, just make a couple baskets in general. But look, that is closer to what he is normally. Like, it was more like an anomaly, him shooting as poorly as he was. So I really like this. Couple of great options. Let's put it to a vote, fellas. Let's show it. I love when Matt starts drawing. I believe that was a
cat.
wolf.
It's a cat.
It's a cat. Okay, excuse me. I couldn't tell what your drawing was there.
I gotta go get some lessons from my daughter on how to draw kitty cats now. Thanks, Maria.
Listen, I think that was pretty excusable on my part, but just so everyone knows, we voted Wolves. Wolves is the winner, but why did you like the cat pick, Matt?
I'm terrified of this game. Like, I applaud you guys for having the confidence in this game. I have no idea. Mavs have been better on the road than at home. Yes, I think the matchups are slowly starting to turn towards the Wolves' way, but one game environment, you just got to close them out. Just shooting variance alone, I don't really have a read for the series at this point, because I do think momentum is obviously with the Wolves coming off of that game 4 where they did make adjustments. It didn't feel like just a let's not get swept game. It felt like a legitimate, they think they can win. But the Mavericks still have a lot of advantages in the series. And if Lively plays, who we're still waiting on injury news about, they have dominated in his minutes. Maxi Kleber's back. He was a plus 15 last game. I don't have a feel for it. So I have to go with Cat here just based off of my absolute terror over taking side in this game.
So, but let me ask you this, and Jill, I'll actually go to you. Are you worried? Because you went Wolves -5, as did I. To me, Derek Lively, I understand how important he is, whether he's playing or not. But even if he plays, do we think he's 100%? And did the Wolves figure out enough? It seems like you think they did.
Well, I think that is the case. Again, I'm not my thing is that I'm not really going to budge very much, even on a rookie. For me, I still will always consider the fact that he's a rookie, and the fact that how impactful Daniel Gafford is. And I think another thing too is there's a little bit of hidden correlation with Sean's picks here, because the reason why I went with Wolves -5 instead of the Cat 3-point prop is because in these playoffs, he has hit 3 or more 3-pointers in 5 games. The Wolves are 4-1 straight up in those games, and they have won all of those games by 5 or more. So if he's hitting 3 or more 3-pointers, the Wolves are likely covering that spread. So that was the reason why I went for that. And that way we could just take away the Cat 3s completely, because I still think he's just such a goofball.
All right. Well, either way, we have our second leg, which is Timberwolves -5, as well as the Kyrie under. So maybe this parlay is leaning towards some pro-Wolf correlation, if we'll call it that. But Jill, why don't you give us your best bets?
Sure. Well, we'll go from a goofball to a captain complainer here. We're going to go right to Luka Doncic, and I'm going to take his 3-point prop over 3.5 3-pointers. He has hit this in 3 or 4 games in the series, 5 of the last 6 playoff games overall. If the Flamingo is reminded that we were fading Luka Doncic and his props earlier in the playoffs, now he seemed to turn the corner there. And this is all about the 3-point volume. He is one of the few players left in the playoffs who I know is going to take consistent 3-point shots per game. So he averages 9.8 3-point attempts per game in these playoffs over 16 games. Well, that's second in the playoffs behind Damian Lillard, and first for any active player right now. And that's pretty consistent for what he's done in his career in the playoffs, which is around 9.6 3-point attempts per playoff game in his career. But again, that volume, going back to it, I have him expected that he's going to take at least 10 or more 3-point shots tonight. And if he does that, he's done that 9 times in this postseason. He's hit this prop in 6 of those games. And also just a closeout game standpoint, like I was talking to you about this, like he scares me, like in these closeout games of being in the last 2 minutes of what he's going to do and how he could just tear your heart out. Because in 9 playoff closeout games where the series could be decided, he's averaging 10.8 3-point shots in his career, and he's gone over this number in 6 of those games. So Luka Doncic over 3.5 3-pointers is the 3-point prop that I like in this game. But on the other side, I'm going to go with baby MJ. I'm taking Anthony Edwards, but I'm going to go over 7.5 rebounds. Really has started to pick this up, especially in the last 2 games. So he's hit this in 3 or 4 games in the series, but he had 18 rebound chances in game 4. He finished with 10 boards, and then he had 17 rebound chances in game 3, 15 rebound chances in game 1. So there are lots of opportunity for him to get boards. Like even in game 4, he did play 41 minutes. Probably would have played more if he had not gotten in foul trouble in the third quarter. But Matt kind of alluded to this as well earlier, and Sean as well, the Timberwolves and their defensive adjustment, because they moved Edwards off of Kyrie. That obviously did not work out well. And then moved him over to DJJ. Then they moved him over to Doncic, and is kind of giving him more opportunity to be out there like the low man in the pick and roll defense, or just puts him closer to the rim for more rebound chances. So in an elimination game, I'd rather bank on Ant-Man just to be aggressive, get to the paint, instead of maybe looking at a 3-point prop or his points prop. I think rebounds is where we want to go at over 7.5 rebounds. So the 2 choices are Luka Doncic over 3.5 3-pointers and Anthony Edwards over 7.5 rebounds.
If there's someone that is not afraid to take threes at any given time, it is definitely Luka. And then Ant too. I mean, I just feel like if Derek Lively is out, it just feeds into this even more. But everybody else, let's vote which one we like best. All right, show it. Okay, we have a photo of Luka as well as a written vote for Luka. So Luka will be our third leg of our same game parlay, over 3.5 threes. For what it's worth, I went Ant-Man just because it's more fun to root for Ant. Luka just annoys me. Sorry. But yeah,
Jeez, Maria.
It
It does get a little tiresome how he does, but I just appreciate his game so much that it helps to deal with the complaining.
It's cool that you can see it in between him staring at the officials in the middle of possessions for calls, Sean. I'm glad that you're able to pay that much attention.
I just watch the game flow, Matt. I don't pay attention to the side. You know what I mean? I'm where the ball's at.
Locked in.
Yes. All right, I'll be more politically correct. While he does annoy the hell out of me, I do appreciate the skill that Luka plays with. But that being said, we have 3 legs for our same game parlay. Let's recap those, shall we? We have Kyrie Irving under on his points prop. We have the Timberwolves -5, and once again, Luka Doncic, the great Luka Doncic, over on his 3-pointers made. Now, if you were to parlay these at FanDuel right now, you could get odds of around +427. Now, for a little bonus bet from yours truly, I told you I like to root for Ant-Man. Let's make this an Anthony Edwards related prop. I like him to go over 6.5 assists. I know that number is a little high. It's a little scary looking, but he has recorded 7+ assists in 5 straight games. He's also averaging 10.7 potential assists per game this postseason, 13.3 this series. The last time he went under this number for assists was actually a blowout win over Denver. And in that game, he only needed to play 34 minutes. He's averaging 41 minutes during this series. And I'll say this, I lean Wolves in this spot. And I feel like the Wolves are best when Ant is being multi-dimensional. I think he realizes that when he's able to get his teammates involved, it helps open things up for him and vice versa. And I actually think this strategy has worked throughout this series, even though it hasn't always translated to wins and they've had some close losses. I think if Cat is shooting better and staying out of foul trouble, that only helps. And even if Derek Lively plays, I'm okay with it. But if he doesn't, I feel like Ant is going to have these opportunities to dish the ball. Actually, if Derek Lively plays, I should say, maybe Ant will be more inclined to dish the ball out. So I'm even fine with it if he does that. So I like Ant to go over his assist prop. Now, in our Action Slack channel group chat, Matt, you told me this was a sharp play. I don't know whether to be afraid that you jinx me or be flattered, but why did you like that pick from me?
A simple thank you would have sufficed, Miss Maria. I love this play. I think it's really sharp. I think the detail that you add on this, like like the way that you've kind of looked at how he's approaching this game, the context of the game flow about how Edwards is trying to adapt to it. They are layering multiple layers of defense at him, but Edwards is a young guy and he's getting more accustomed to it. Again, this kind of plays into the whole idea of the Wolves are getting better at the adjustments as the series goes on, which again is why I think there's a lot of pressure on the Mavs to close this out tonight. I do think there's a high chance that Edwards is going to be able to facilitate. We saw that in the Denver series when they started layering defenses against him. He would have bad shooting games, but he had one where he had like 9 assists in the game because of the amount of attention that they're driving towards him. I think this is a great play. I thought Jill's Luka play was phenomenal. I thought it was like I think all the analysis on that is terrific. I think everyone here outside of me, everyone else, I think absolutely crushed the Caps on this game. I think we did a really good job of this parlay.
All right, I'll just say thank you, Matt. Thank you. And by the way, if you wanted to include that little bonus bet in with the parlay, you're looking at odds of around +772. So this has been fun as per usual. And I never want to leave the island, but we do got to go at some point. So thank you for watching Action Island presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. For Matt Moore, Sean Little, and Gilles Gallant, I'm Maria Marino. Enjoy the games tonight.